All right, guys. So I think it's pretty important for you to understand why we have to cover the things that we have to do. Even though we're an academic laboratory, I can kind of understand if this was industry or if you were brought on as a new employee at a company somewhere. But it's academics, for goodness sake, right? What could actually go wrong? Well, let me show you what can go wrong in an academic lab. So here's an article that I want to cover with you. And hopefully after reading this article, you can kind of understand what would happen in an academic lab. So the headline of the article from C&EN News says, University Lab Accident Under Investigation, Lab Safety. Texas Tech examination is the first for Chemical Safety Board. All right, so it says a recent accident in a chemistry department laboratory at Texas Tech University will be investigated by the Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board, CSB. Chairman John Breslin announced on January the 19th. The investigation at the university will be its first. One student, Preston Brown, 29 years old, was seriously injured in the accident and still remains in critical condition. Brown is being treated in the hospital's burn center, where he has been since the accident took place. Initially, the press said that 2 students were injured, but university officials says only 1 was actually hurt. Brown received severe burns and lacerations to his face and hands when a mixture of nickel hydrazine perchlorate exploded during the afternoon in the chemistry building. So let's talk about this for a second. We've got a student in an academic lab, and this student assumes, probably, that it's an academic lab and nothing really major can go on, right? Everything is safe. It's in an academic environment. What really could happen out of the ordinary? And you probably have other students and faculty members assuming the same thing. So 29 years old, working in a chemistry lab at an academic institution, working with nickel hydrazine perchlorate, which exploded, and it sent him to the hospital. So here's a prime example of an academic lab being a hazard for you as a student. It says university officials told CSB the accident involved the detonation of a high-energy metal compound. Texas Tech, the board reported, has an agreement with Northeastern University in Boston to study high-energy materials for the Department of Homeland Security. Now, this is not uncommon at an academic institution, especially at a university. Very often, those laboratories are tapped to basically partner with some type of government agency or other type of industry, and they perform some of the work at the academic institution. This is not uncommon, and we've actually done it ourselves with a couple of local employers. We've never worked with explosive nickel hydrazine perchlorate before, but we have paired up with local employers to complete projects. This is just one of those examples. The board, Breslin says, recently began taking notice of accidents in school research lab and wondering how could this happen in an academic lab environment. We're seeing serious accidents in high school and university labs every year, including a tragic fatality a year ago at UCLA. Well, you can go through and you can search UCLA lab accident and see what pulls up. But it's another story similar to this. Students were basically working in a lab and boom, out it goes. It says, I believe it's time to begin examining these accidents to see if they can be prevented through the kind of rigorous safety management systems that we and others have advocated in industrial settings. So all of a sudden, because of a couple of accidents that should not have happened, academic laboratories are now maybe subjected to the same standards of safety as industrial settings. And they should be. What we have in our laboratory, it's not baby play. right? We have reagents and we have chemicals that can explode. We have reagents that can eat through your skin. We have chemicals that can cause cancer. We have chemicals that can mutate your DNA if you're exposed to it over a long period of time. So because of that, we need to really align ourselves with industrial type of standards, even though that we're an academic institution. It's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. It says, along with conducting the Texas Tech investigation, Breslin says CSB will collect information on other laboratory accidents to determine whether a more detailed study of academic lab safety is merited. The study could occur in the next fiscal year. Investigations Supervisor Don Holstrom, who manages the board's Denver office, will lead the investigation, along with CSB investigator Mary Beth Malaki, who knows how you pronounce her last name, a physical chemist and former academic researcher. In a statement, Texas Tech Vice President Research Taylor Egme said, "We appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with the U.S. Chemical Safety Board on the investigation of this incident. We look forward to completing our own internal investigation. Of the university's lab conduct, Texas Tech is committed to safe practices and procedures. We have an excellent program in place, yet we believe this incident affords us an opportunity to proactively look at our safety training." This is the common story, people. We have years and years and years worth of no accidents at all, period. And then the time that an accident does happen, it's a pretty bad accident. And it's so bad that this caused major media intervention. So the news and the story broke out in articles in many number of different publications. And now all academic institutions are under the microscope because of it. It says the university would not comment on the accident's cause or the lab damage, nor would it provide information on the student. It says the safety practices and culture at many university labs need to improve. And then down here, my impression is that the CSB is very picky about what it investigates. They don't have a large staff and aren't rolling in dough. So this investigation is very interesting. Maybe publicizing this particular investigation will wake up other institutions to the need to start paying attention and not lose track of the fact that there are hazardous materials and equipment in laboratories. On the other hand, I don't want mothers and fathers hearing about this and discouraging their kids from going into chemistry. This is important work, and it should be done safely. So again, it's the same story over and over that you're going to hear from me. We are an academic laboratory. There are risks associated with working in our lab. And incidents, not accidents, incidents can occur at any point in time. We just hope that we're not like Texas Tech. We hope that we can prevent those types of major incidents from happening, and maybe small incidents, they're going to happen. There's nothing that you can do to completely ignore them. Sooner or later, you're going to get hit with one of them. But something major like this, we want to stay away from. It says CSB has no regulatory authority. In its decade-long history, it has conducted root cause investigations, ding, 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 RCAs or RCIs, right? We talked about that previously in the last video, at more than 60 chemical industries and distribution sites, and has issued 59 reports. So they're not a regulatory authority, which means that they're only there to give their suggestion, to give their advice. How can we improve it, and how can we make sure that these things do not happen again? That is what we want to see, right? So here's a story of an academic laboratory that basically should have put lab safety first. Did Preston Brown know the hazards that were associated with this particular type of compound? If he did not know, why didn't he know? Did the instructors or did the faculty tell him to look up the safety data sheets? Did he do that on his own merit? He should have done it on his own merit if no one told him about it. Why would you work with something if you don't have a clue of what it is, right? So there's probably a couple of things to figure out how to prevent this from happening. What went wrong that led to this accident or this incident, and what can be done in the future to fix this type of problem. But there's stories like this that are out there, and there's numerous of them. Numerous ones. We just hope that it's not at Cape Fear Community College. And with your help, we will not be put into an article like this on the internet or in the paper or on YouTube for people to talk about us and our safety training program. So help keep our record clean and completely understand what you're doing in the lab, what the associated risks are, and how you can prevent those risks from happening.